Sorting materials into groups. Sorting materials into groups. Students, we see many books arranged in bookshelves in a library. They are arranged in a manner as shown below. Can anyone tell me what is this arrangement is called? This is called sorting material into groups. Objects around us. Students, before we start, let us first know what is an object. A thing that can be seen and touched is called an object. An object is called vastu or cheez in Hindi. The matter of which an object is made is called material. Material is called padarth in Hindi. For example, books, box, toys, bag, etc. are all objects we can see and touch them. Classification of objects. The sorting of objects into groups with each group having its own characteristic properties is called classification of objects. The objects can be classified into groups which A. makes it easier to locate them and work with them. B. Can be easily understood because the known property of any one member of the group gives an idea of the properties of the other members of this group. Basis of classification of objects. The classification of various objects into groups can be done on the basis of their similarities and dissimilarities. A. All the objects can be classified into two main groups, living objects and non-living objects. B. Living objects can be classified further into two groups, plants and animals. C. Non-living objects can be classified into many groups on the basis of their nature of material, use, color, shape, size, appearance, hardness, texture, etc. A. Classification of objects as living and non-living. All the living objects need food, water, and air for their survival, whereas non-living objects do not require these things. B. Classification of living objects as plants and animals. All green plants can make their food by using carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight, whereas animals cannot make their food in this way. The following objects are classified into plants and animals. Plants, rose, algae, hydrilla, cactus, tree. Animals, dog, grasshopper, earthworm, fish, hen. C. Classification of non-living objects. The non-living objects can be classified on the basis of the material of which they are made, their uses, color, shape, size, appearance, hardness, and texture, etc. For example, objects made of wood, table, chair, bed, door. Objects made of metals, nail, utensils, magnet, coin. Objects made of glass, beaker, test tube, funnel, mirror. Objects made of plastics, toy, ruler, mug, polythene bag. Materials. The matter from which an object is made is called material, also known as padarth. All the objects are made up of one or more materials. For example, the table is an object which is made of wood, so wood is a material. Some more examples of materials are wood, glass, cotton, rubber. Types of material. Materials are of two types, natural materials and man-made materials. A. Some examples of natural materials are wood, coal, rocks, gold, petroleum, sand, and soil. B. Some examples of man-made materials are iron, stainless steel, cement, glass, plastic, paper, sugar, and brass. In our everyday life, we use many objects made of natural and man-made materials. For example, a tumbler can be made of different materials like plastic, glass, stainless steel, brass, and silver. Now look at the table given below. It consists of names of 5 more objects which are made from different kind of materials. Plastic is a material which can be used to make different kinds of objects like ruler, tumbler, mug, toys and toothbrush. In the above table, we have seen the objects made from different kind of material. Now we will see the objects made out of these materials as shown in the table. Now look at the table given. It consists of names of 5 more objects which are made by a combination of different kinds of materials. Properties or classification of materials. Different materials have different properties. Thus, the materials are classified on the basis of certain properties, such as A. Appearance, shiny or dull. B. Hardness or softness. C. Solubility or insolubility in water. D. Heaviness or lightness with respect to water. E. Transparency, translucency or opaqueness. Now we will discuss each property in detail. 1. Classification of materials on the basis of their appearance. On the basis of their appearance, all the materials are classified into 2 groups. 1. Materials having luster or shiny appearance, and 2. Materials having no luster or dull appearance. Those materials which have shiny appearance are said to have luster. The examples of materials having luster or shine are metals such as gold, silver, copper, and iron. Metal alloys such as steel, stainless steel, brass, etc. and diamond. Those materials which have dull appearance are said to have no luster or no shine. The examples of materials having dull appearance are paper, cardboard, wood, chalk, cotton, plastic, rubber, and sand. 2. Classification of materials on the basis of hardness and softness. All the materials can be divided into 2 groups on the basis of their hardness or softness. 1. Hard materials and 2. Soft materials. Those materials which cannot be easily compressed, cut, bent, molded or scratched are called hard materials. Some of the examples of hard materials are iron, wood, brick, glass, teak, and diamond. Diamond is the hardest natural material known. Those materials which can be easily compressed, cut, bent, molded, or scratched are called soft materials. Some of the examples of soft materials are sponge, wool, foam rubber, butter, clay, skin, and tomato. 3. Classification of materials on the basis of their solubility in water. All the materials can be classified into 2 groups on the basis of their solubility. 1. Materials which are soluble in water, and 2. Materials which are insoluble in water. Activity 1. Salt and water test. To test the solubility of salt in water. Materials required: 2 or 3 test tubes in test tube stand, water in a beaker, salt in bowl, spoon. Procedure: Step 1. Take a test tube from test tube stand. Step 2. Fill it half with water. Step 3. Add half a spoon of salt in it. Step 4. Shake the test tube well and observe it. Observation: Salt has disappeared into water. Its tiny particles spread so uniformly in water that cannot be seen. Conclusion: Salt is soluble, dissolve in water. Activity 2. Sand and water test. To test the solubility of sand in water. Materials required: 2 or 3 test tubes in test tube stand, water in a beaker, sand in bowl, spoon. Procedure: Step 1. Take a test tube from test tube stand. Step 2. Fill it half with water. Step 3. Add half a spoon of sand in it. Step 4. Shake the test tube well and observe it. Observation. You will observe that sand settles down at the bottom of the test tube. Conclusion. Sand is insoluble, cannot dissolve in water. Activity 3. Solubility of liquid in water. To test the solubility of liquid material in water. Materials required. Test tubes, water in beaker, oil in beaker, and dropper. Test tube stand. Procedure. Step 1. Take a test tube from test tube stand. Step 2. Fill it half with water. Step 3. Add few drops of mustard oil in it. Step 4. Shake the test tube well. Step 5. Allow it to stand for a few minutes. Observation. You will see 2 separate layers of water and mustard oil in the test tube. Water being heavier forms the lower layer, whereas mustard oil being lighter forms the upper layer in the test tube. Conclusion. Mustard oil is insoluble or immiscible, does not get mixed in water. No more. Those liquids which do not mix with water can mix among themselves. For example, groundnut oil can mix with coconut oil to form a single layer. Similarly, kerosene can mix with petrol to form a single layer. 4. Classification of materials on the basis of their heaviness or lightness with respect to water. All the materials can be classified into 2 groups on the basis of their density. 1. Materials which are heavier than water, and 2. Materials which are lighter than water. 5. Classification of materials on the basis of transparency, translucency, or opaqueness. 1. Transparent materials. Those materials through which we can see clearly are called transparent materials. Some of the examples of transparent materials are glass, air, water, alcohol, etc. 2. Translucent materials. Those materials through which we cannot see clearly are called translucent materials. Some of the examples of translucent materials are butter paper or tracing paper, oiled paper, tissue paper, muddy water, and clouds. 3. Opaque materials. Those materials through which we cannot see at all are called opaque materials. Some of the examples of opaque materials are cardboard, wood, metals, stone, and book, etc. Click the